Hey everybody. So earlier this week on Instagram, I did a poll and I asked you guys, what do you want me to do some videos on? I said, did you want nutrition? Did you want exercise? Do you want fashion, fit, like health and beauty, fitness? Like, what do you want? And I was like overwhelmed by the most common answer. It's not what you thought it would be. Number two was my hair. And today it's not that exciting, but they wanted to know about the volume in my hair. But the number one thing that people wanted to know or wanted me to do video topics on was marriage. And I thought, wow, that's really powerful and that's really exciting. It's exciting because it means that a lot of people are putting that as a priority in their life and they're wanting to do better. When you tell me you want to hear more about marriage or you want to, just get advice, not that I'm good at giving marriage advice, but like if you want it, if you are telling me those things, that means that you're willing to do the work. And that means that, the marriage, whatever yours looks like right now, it means that if you're willing to lean in, it can look even better and be even more beautiful than it is right now. So, I'm going to share a little bit with you about my husband and I. I'm going to talk to you about our relationship and how it's evolved because I don't think some of you realize this piece. So, my husband and I are very much the living testimony of high school sweethearts. And we are the high school sweethearts that got together and stayed together, and our relationship has changed. So the Kevin and Sarah that we were when we started dating, we are not those people anymore. We have evolved and we have grown and we have really changed, but we have made a decision that as those things happen, that we're going to change and grow together rather than to grow apart, because that's what sometimes can happen in a marriage. So in case you didn't know, I have been dating my husband exclusively since I was 14. And I say dating because even though I got the ring and I'm Mrs. Griffith, I still date my husband. So today I'm going to share with you some changes that have occurred in my marriage that were for the better, honestly, and some things that I do to help to take my marriage to the next level. So, as you know, I have three small children, and having three small children is a lot of work. And it means that it's a really hard season for your marriage. And I have watched friends, I've watched their marriage go from good to bad, and I've watched others go from good to great. It is a decision 100%. Regardless if you have children, if they're older, if you're in the trenches of parenthood with small people like we are, it is a decision. I choose my husband every single day. And there are some days when choosing him is harder than others, okay? I am not going to be on this call and paint a picture that my marriage is perfect or that we don't ever run into problems, okay? Because that's not true, and I don't want you to believe that, okay? I need you to understand that every marriage, no matter how good it looks on the outside, we all have stuff that is hard, right? Or that we have to work through. And so I need you to know that your grass will get greener if you choose to water it. You need to stop looking at your neighbor's grass or somebody else's thinking theirs is better. It may not even be better. It may be that they're portraying that it's really good and it's really not, okay? I've learned that sometimes people do that. They act like it's better than it is. But here's what you're gonna do. If you want to make your marriage better or stronger, it doesn't start with you fixing them and it doesn't start with you changing them. It starts with you becoming the best version of yourself. And I know that for some of you, that's not the answer you wanted to hear because you want me to tell you that it's all about them fixing themselves. But at the end of the day, my marriage got stronger, better, hotter, more fun, easier when I made the decision to become a better version of Sarah. So let me turn this off so we don't keep hearing all kinds of dings. But it was a decision. And for me, my journey of becoming a different version of me is one that I've been on now for 5 years, almost 6 years. And so my life has changed, but I would say over the last year to 2 years is when I started to make my marriage my actual priority in a goal. So meaning that I have a goal book that I use. I've used several different ones, but in my goal book, I actually talk about the things that I want to accomplish each year. And I look at those goals every day. Believe it or not, every day I look to see what were my goals for this year. And I write them out at the start of each new week. And I really keep that at the forefront of my mind of What do I want? And my number one goal for my life is to have an incredible marriage. This is kind of silly, but I write hot marriage. And I know that hot marriage isn't the best way to put it, but I wanted the kind of marriage where when I walked into a room, he and I had this energy about us that no one else in the room had. And that only comes from being connected on an incredibly deep level and truly 100% being each other's best friend. I could be in a room full of people, and if Kevin's in the room, that's the only person that I really care that's in the room. And I know some of you will say, that's crazy. Like, really? I literally love hanging out with my husband. I love time with him, whether we're doing something or not doing something. I love his company, but it's because I choose him and I choose his company. And I try really hard to be his best friend. And that's what this comes down to, is being their best friend. And so I do those things. We are not in a season right now where date nights are easy. Date nights are really hard for us. So my goal planner says that we will have 2 date nights a month. And some months we only get 1. And there were seasons where we didn't get any. And so that's when you have to get creative and you need to do date nights in. But really what this comes down to is you need to try. You need to show up for your marriage. You need to try. If your spouse hates planning dates, don't ask them to plan a date. You plan the date. You coordinate the babysitter. Make plans to have fun with them. Don't just go to dinner. Go on an adventure. Last year we really tried to do different things. We went to a ninja course one time. We've gone just to a coffee shop. We've just gone to different places. You can go to Painting with a Twist. You can go to the movies. You can go to a cooking class, whatever. But don't just go and have dinner and sit there and talk about your kids or your finances or your troubles. That's not a date and that's not any fun. And when you go on your date, you need to dress up. You need to do silly things like tell your spouse how great they look, or give them compliments whenever you can, but you need to make an effort to date your spouse. And you need to ask them to be on the same page with you and say, this matters to me because of XYZ. So I date him often. I send him words of encouragement at least daily, once a day. So I will send him a text that doesn't just say, I love you. Instead, it might say something like, thanks for dropping the girls off at school today. It was so helpful to not have to take them myself. Or I can't wait till you come home later today. Or you're going to love dinner tonight. I made it just for you. And these are all silly things. And I know you're thinking, well, I already do that. Maybe some of you already do. But these things repeated day in and day out takes your marriage from so-so to next level best friend marriage. Intimacy is obviously huge. I won't go into detail on this video about that. I think some of you want a video separate just for that, but that's not for today. But those things are all huge. Make an effort to connect with them. Even when I sit on the couch with my husband, I don't sit away from him. If we're on the couch, I like to lean on him and lay on him, just like I did when we were dating. And that's something that I think the longer you stay married, the easier it is to be over on the other couch or to not even be in the room when they're watching TV. But all of this is a choice and it's a decision. And so that's what I chased. In 2018, in 2019, I made a decision that I would chase a hotter marriage because I wanted to have, again, a next level marriage. And I wanted to be fostering a marriage that when my children grew up someday, I wanted them to look at what Kevin and I had and say, I want that for my family. I want to get married. I want to treat my spouse the way mommy or daddy treats each other. And so those were my goals. And so for me, I don't care if I'm the most successful coach in the world. I don't care if I'm making a certain amount of money. I don't care about a lot of things, but I care about that thing the most. My marriage is my number one priority in my world. And when my marriage is good, my parenting is good, and then my children's home environment is good. So again, yes, this is hard work. Yes, taking a date night is time away from your kids and you may feel guilty about it, but at the end of the day, you are doing your children a service, not a disservice, by spending quality time with your mate. One of the other things that I did is, I focused on my own wellness journey, and I shared that a few minutes ago, but I made this my journey, not Kevin's journey. I never pushed my lifestyle, meaning that I exercise, I eat clean, I'm making those kind of decisions. I never pushed that on my husband. So when I started, I did that alone, and it was my lifestyle. But then the more he watched, the more he kind of got involved. Now, Kevin is a on off, on off, on off kind of guy when it comes to fitness. So he's either all in or he's eating ice cream on the couch. And so there's not really an in between with him. And that can be tricky, right? I could very easily be, like nagging on him. Why didn't you exercise? Or, oh, you're off track. Or, oh, I see you're eating ice cream. Like, don't you think you should put that down? No. Like, again, I am a better wife because I take care of me. My job is to take care of Sarah and the kids with my husband, but my job is to take care of me. And so that means that I have to take responsibility for myself. My happiness, my health, my overall wellness is on me. I'm not his mother. I am his wife. And so that means that I can try to be a positive influence, but I can't say, Kevin, you need to go work out. Kevin, you need to eat clean. It has to be that you create this vibe about you that makes them want to join you. And so that's what I did. And I hope that I have positively worn off on him a bit, but this is a me thing. Me getting up early before the kids to work out makes me a better mom, because when they get up at 7, I'm ready for the day and I've already exercised and I can be fully present as a mom. I know what it feels like to do the opposite. I know what it feels like to sleep till they sleep and then be woke up by the monitor of the crying kids and everybody try to get ready at once, and it's chaos, and then I'm grumpy and I'm just not a good mom then. And so anyways, I put my own self first so that then I can serve my family better. So I hope that it's something you can think about doing in your own life, like saying, okay, am I a positive influence on my spouse? Am I, exercising? Am I eating well? Am I taking care of my own mental health? Am I doing those things? And then another thing that I've done in the last year is I've went to counseling, and that was like the game changer. People have asked me, like, what changed? I feel like in 2018-19 everything changed with you. And the answer is everything did change. The Sarah that I am now is not the Sarah that I was prior to starting counseling. Counseling is the best money that I spend every month. I think that every successful woman needs to have a really great counselor. And behind every successful marriage, I think, is also a really great counselor. At this time, we do not go to marriage counseling, and my husband does not go to counseling. I go. I sit on that couch. Sometimes I talk about marriage stuff. Sometimes I talk about business stuff or mom life stuff or whatever I'm struggling with in the moment. But I love it because it's my chance for someone to call me out on my BS sometimes. I think that we sometimes don't want to hear that, right? We don't want to hear a different approach, or we don't want to hear that maybe you were wrong. And my counselor helps me to see that. I may share a situation that's going on at home, of whatever, whatever it might be. And she might say, well, I see your point, but what about thinking about it from this angle? And I leave there and I'm like, wow, like, you're right. So sometimes it's powerful, because then I get to come home and talk to my husband and say, you know what, I'm sorry. Like, I was a jerk the way I handled that. Or, what if we did it a different way? And I just get to have a new lens, if that makes sense. So if you're not in counseling, go to counseling. If you're not exercising and eating well, start taking care of you. If you're not complimenting your spouse, start doing that. If you're not going on dates, start doing that. Another thing that I do is I pray for my husband and I pray for my family every day. Sometimes it's out loud. Sometimes I use a prayer journal. So like, this is mine right here. I love using a prayer journal because someday when my kids are older, I'm going to be able to sit them down with this and I'm going to say, look at all the things I prayed for you and for us as a family, and look how God worked in our life, or look how he didn't and how his plans were better than mommy's, right? Mommy wanted this for us, but God did this instead. Isn't this cool? So I just love having a prayer journal. So in my prayer journal, you better believe that every day, Kevin Kevin's in here, right? I'm praying for different things for him, or I'm thanking God for different gifts. Right now, my husband's working, like he just finished, he's in the middle of a project, so he's working on our driveway. And while some people see it as, oh, it's a beautiful driveway, like I see it as a beautiful, it's God, right? So my driveway is God's gift that he gave to Kevin, and he's just so talented. So I get to see that. So in my journal the other day, I was like, thank you, God, for giving me Kevin and for this beautiful driveway that's like a testament to your work and the gifts that you gave him, because he's super talented in that. So anyways, I don't want to go on a tangent, but praying for your spouse is really powerful. And then last but not least, I think that it's incredibly important to get on the same page when it comes to your finances. If you and your spouse, if one of you is a spender and one of you is a saver, or if both of you are spenders and now you're in debt, or if both of you are savers and you're sitting on all this money but you're not having any fun, all of these can create problems. So I think that it's really important that you and your significant other get on the same page. One of the things that you could do is you can do the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. Now that course does cost money. I think it's like $150 or $160, and you get access to all the resources. And there's different videos and different modules. It's like taking a class, and I think you have access to them for, I believe it was a year that you get it. Or you could just buy his book. I'll actually pull it really quick. If you can't afford the course, just buy the book, and the book is basically the course in book form. I still recommend actually doing the course and watching the videos rather than just reading this, but Complete Guide to Money is pretty awesome, and it's pretty thorough, and it will help you to change your finances and to change your situation. So one of the things that you could do if that's a struggle is you could together do the Dave Ramsey University. Now, if you do not do this with your spouse, you're wasting your time, because you're going to learn new habits and new behaviors, and then your spouse is not, and it just won't work. In fact, it will probably cause an argument. So that would be another area that I would encourage you to improve on together is your finances. When you start to fix all these things, then again, your marriage starts to change, and you don't just feel it, but everybody around you feels it too. I could probably ask my close friends or family, do you think that Kevin and I have a good marriage? And they know the real us, not the social media us. And they're going to be like, yeah, for sure, because we are the real deal. But that's because we work really hard to be the real deal and to be, I say happily ever after, but like, guys, sometimes it's not happily ever after. Sometimes it's happily choosing each other. There are days when Kevin and I have arguments, and there are days when I'm really angry at the way he acted or I acted or whatever, or parenting's hard and we lose our cool. Like, we are just like you. We're normal people, but we're just people who've made a choice to do life together and to just, share the good stuff with each other. And there are hard things too. If you follow me on social media, the last year has been really hard. New baby, my brother has cancer, Kevin's brother committed suicide. Like, we've had all the things, but in the midst of all that, we've still decided to show up. So lastly, before I end, I just want to share this. So when Kevin's brother committed suicide, it was our first encounter with grief close to home, like really close to home. And as much as I wanted to support my husband and get through this, I also didn't know how, because I had never dealt with a suicide that close, and I had never dealt with grief that close. So instead of running from this, or instead of, letting him be sad for a few days and being like, okay, I don't know what to do, so under the rug, because that's not okay, right? That's not how you deal. I made a decision that I would learn about grief, and I would study grief, and I would go to counseling so I could help my spouse through grief, and I would do all the things so that I could be his person, even if I didn't know how to be. So I bought books on Amazon about grief, and I, shared passages with him. I didn't ask him to read the book. I didn't ask him to go to counseling with me. He'll go if he wants to, and that's his choice. I invite him every time I go, but I don't make him go. Again, best version of me. Hopefully it wears off on him. But anyways, if your spouse is struggling with something, it could be anything: depression, anxiety, maybe it's addiction, maybe it's whatever, whatever it is. For me, it's a spouse struggling with grief. Lean into it. Don't run from it. Don't let it become a problem in your marriage. Instead, read the books, do the things so that you guys can leave that mountain that you're climbing up together handheld, like hands held, you're going to come off the mountain and be like, we are so much stronger because of this obstacle. And you're going to see the blessings in it, even if right now in the middle of it, it doesn't feel like a blessing, right? So anyways, thank you so much for asking me to kind of share that. Thank you for wanting to make your marriage better. I think that it really needs to be a focus in our society in this day and age, especially for the future generation of people who are going to say I do. They need positive role models to look up to. So here's to hoping to be positive role models for the kids of tomorrow in our future. All right, love you guys.